During this government shutdown that's been controlled by Republicans, Senator Lujan of New Mexico tried to get SNAP benefits and WIC benefits approved on a separate individual bill while they go through negotiations to open up the entire government.
Mr. President, I rise today to ask my colleagues to pass my Keep SNAP and WIC Funded Act of 2025, which has the backing of the entire Democratic caucus, the Democratic members of this Senate.
Now, Senator Thune, who's also the MAGA majority leader in the Senate, he had a rebuttal not only to deny unanimous consent for that bill, but to also talk about his reasons for not supporting unanimous consent for that bill. I'm going to play a good portion that's becoming viral in the news.
Is there an objection?
Mr. President.
The majority leader.
Thank you. Reserving the right to object. Let me just point out, if I might, that we are 29 days into a Democrat shutdown. And the senator from New Mexico was absolutely right. SNAP recipients shouldn't go without food. People should be getting paid in this country. And we've tried to do that 13 times. And you voted no 13 times. This isn't a political game. These are real people's lives that we're talking about. And you all have just figured out, 29 days in, that, there might be some consequences. There are people who run out of money. Yeah, we're 29 days in. And they've done their best to make sure that a lot of these programs are funded. But at some point, the government runs out of money. 13 times, people over here voted to fund SNAP. 13 times they voted to fund WIC. My aching back. Finally realized this thing has consequences.
That sounded real good. That sounded real, planned out, methodical, passionate, like Senator Thune really cared about that continuing resolution and that he cared about the American people in trying to get the whole of government open. Sounded real good. But let me tell you something. When you voted 13 times to get SNAP benefits and to get federal workers back to work, to include myself, what you also voted for 13 times was to take away 1.5, if not $2 trillion from the American people, from Medicaid and Medicare, and give it to the rich. What you voted for 13 times was to make sure that people didn't have access to quality medical care. What you voted for 13 times was to continue the same bullshit that you guys have been continuing for the last 6 to 7 years that you've had power. What you voted for 13 times was that you were going to just ramrod any fucking legislation that you wanted to ram through, and you were not going to give the Democrats or the minority party any kind of consideration. What you voted for 13 times, unlike the Democrat Party when they had power, there were 13 continuing resolutions that they went through, and 13 times they went to the minority party, which was your party, to say, how can we get this legislation through? And they had to water down their legislation for you, but you wouldn't do it for them. That's why the goddamn government shut down, because you won't take your ass across the aisle and negotiate. And you got the fucking audacity to sit there and say 13 times they voted for it and Democrats voted against it. And then you had the nerve to say,
my aching back.
Well, let me tell you about your fucking aching back. There are millions of Americans out here that can't get access to quality medical care because their fucking backs are hurting. Where's their benefits? You took it from them. Now the goddamn insurance premiums are going to go sky the fuck high, and they got aching backs. Fuck you and your continuing resolution. What do you think?